Hello and welcome back to the Project Management Prepcast. I'm your instructor, Cornelius Fichtner, and this lesson is recorded with a live audience on Facebook and YouTube, and we are going to take a look at the PMP passing score and also how to interpret the results that PMI gives you after a successful or unsuccessful PMP exam. Hello, everybody. Nice to have you back. Wonderful to be with you here today. Let's get the show on the road. As always, we have an agenda. Here we are. This is what we are going to be taking a look at today. So I want to start out with the big one. What is the PMP exam passing score? The question that everybody always asks. Then we're going to look at the exam results report, what it contains, drill it down, interpretation, what to do with it. There are also exam forensics that we have to discuss because that occasionally leads people to scratch their heads a little bit. Then I have an FAQ, lots of questions from people that I've gathered about the exam report. And then I'm going to give you 3 tips for increasing your PMP exam score, and we'll have some takeaways there at the end. But before we start here, let me just say the 3 tips that I'm giving you at the end. There is no silver bullet in the PMP exam, right? I'm doing my best to help you and give you these tips. It sounds bigger than it actually is. Those are the 3 biggest tips that I have. But they're not like, oh, you apply this, it's very easy, and you'll pass. These are hard to implement tips. They really require your dedication. You'll see when we get to it. But before we get to it, please don't forget that we offer a complete online suite of PMP exam preparation tools. On the left here, you see the Prepcast training course. This lesson here is part of the Prepcast training course. There are about 60 others just like it. And on the right, we have the Prepcast simulator. So once you've gone through the training, once you've studied everything you need, you can use the Prepcast simulator and apply your knowledge to over 2,200 at this point sample exam questions based on the latest exam specifications, includes Pinbox 7. So we've got you covered there. Wonderful. The big one, the PMP exam passing score. Before we talk about the exam passing score, though, I want to take a look and start with the exam timeline. So the actual exam, when you're sitting in the room there and you're taking the exam. So let's start with this. So when you sit down and the exam begins, it doesn't begin immediately because there is a tutorial that is completely optional. It takes about 5 to 15 minutes to go through it. Highly recommended. Don't take the exam without looking at the tutorial. Understand what's on the screen. Learn the various buttons. Do your due diligence, right? And it also helps calm you down, right? If you just look at the technology there and do that. Then the exam begins. The exam will ask you, this is for the PMP exam, 60 questions. Then you have a optional 10-minute break. Highly recommended you take it. Another 60 questions, another 10-minute break, 60 questions, another 10-minute break, right? In total, you have 230 minutes for the exam, excluding the breaks. So if you, well, actually, there is no break after the third one. What was I doing? I will have to adjust this slide. There is no break after the third set. There's only a break after the first and second set. This is what happens when you copy paste, right? Okay, so it's 60 breaks, 60 breaks, 60 finish. That's what it's supposed to say. And then there are 230 minutes are over. And then after that, you get your result. Immediately on the screen, it'll tell you, congratulations, you passed your exam, or unfortunately, you did not. Following that, we have a survey, or the PMI has a survey. Again, optional, 5 to 15 minutes. Some people tell me that they were actually required to take it. So sometimes it's optional, sometimes it's mandatory. Can't really explain that all too well. We get various kind of feedback on that one. And then at some point, you will get a exam report online if you take it at home, you get an email, and printed if you take it at the exam testing center. And what we want to take a look at now is those two highlighted areas. The PMP exam result, what is it? And also the report, what is on it? Because after you pass or fail your exam, which I don't hope happens to you, you may ask yourself this: what is my exam score, my exact exam score? How far was I from passing, right? What should I study to improve my results going forward? And what were my areas of strengths? What were my areas of weaknesses? Sadly, however, the answer to one of these four questions is not provided to us. And it's the first one here. Neither the exam results report nor PMI will tell you about the exam score. They don't tell you what the exam passing score is, and they also won't tell you what your personal exam score is. Okay? And you will never know how many questions you answered right. You will never know how many questions you answered wrong. And this has been a PMI policy for many years now, and I'm not going to argue with it, right? We do not know the passing score. We do not know how many questions you or I answered correctly, right? It is what it is. This is just, we have to live with it, right? But what I can tell you is how PMI calculates the exam score. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment, but I want to repeat this here, right? Nobody knows what the exam passing score for any PMI exam is. So if you hear anybody say you need to answer X% of questions correctly in order to pass, please tell them they have no idea what they are talking about, because PMI simply does not disclose the passing score. What PMI does tell us is this: the passing score for all PMI exams is determined by sound psychometric analysis. At the core, this basically means that PMI uses subject matter experts, project professionals like you and me from around the world who volunteer for PMI, and they will tell them how many questions you must answer correctly to pass the exam. Okay, Tony Johnson is here. Hello, Tony, from Crosswind PM. He says, amen to the no public passing score. Okay, yeah, I totally agree with you, Tony. This is not something that is public, so therefore I find it's actually quite good. So people focus on actually learning, studying, and improving, right? And what I can also tell you is that each correct answer is worth 1 point on your PMP exam. This is part of this sound psychometric analysis, right? So the volunteers tell them how many questions you have to answer correctly. They don't tell us how many that is. And each answer is worth 1 point. Let's take a look at that for the PMP exam here, and how PMI establishes the passing score. Okay, so you start out here with 180 questions. Right there, okay? So that's the basis for the PMP exam. And then PMI says 5 of these 180 questions are pre-test questions. And what PMI does here is they regularly add new questions to the PMP exam, but they want to be absolutely sure, sound psychometric analysis, remember, that these are valid questions. Not that everybody gets it right or everybody gets it wrong, right? They have to fall into a certain spectrum. So they add these pre-test questions, and you become a test subject for PMI so that they can test these 5 questions here on you and make sure that they are correct. So 180 minus 5, 175 questions are scored. And this means that, this much I can tell you, the maximum score you can have on your PMP exam is 175. I can't tell you what the minimum score is because, again, that PMI doesn't tell you that, but the maximum score is 175 points because every question is worth 1 point. Very, very similar On the PMI ACP exam, here we have 120 questions with 20 pretest questions and 100 are scored. And for the CAPM exam, we start out with 150 questions, 15 pretest, and scored are 135. PMI has officially mentioned and has a note on the website, the CAPM exam is changing sometime in the future. No clear date has been given. My expectation of what's going to happen to the CAPM in regards to the passing score is this. The number of questions, pretest questions on the PMP exam was lowered to 5. My expectation is they're going to lower that to 5 as well and leave the scored to 135. So 135 scored, 5 pretest, 140 is going to be the new total number of questions you'll have to answer on the CAPM exam. That is my prediction. Let's see if I'm right once PMI launches the new CAPM exam sometime in the future. Okay, so again, this number back here, 175, 100, 135, that is the maximum possible score you can have on the exam. We simply do not know what the minimum score is, okay? What do you need to pass? Nobody knows. PMI isn't talking. And I'm frankly not asking because, like Tony said, amen on the no public passing score. Moving on, let's take a look at the exam report, right? Because at this point, you're probably thinking, I wish he would stop looking at stuff that we're not being told and instead look at what we are being told. And I can do that, yes. What you see here is a portion of the sample exam report that PMI is providing on the website. So this is not an actual student, this is a sample student. And what you can see here is in the top half of the screenshot is the overall performance. So this is a sample student that passed, right? So this is the overall performance domain level. And then in the bottom here, we have the breakdown, the performance levels for people, process, and for business environment. And you can see this here. We have needs improvement would be red, below target would be yellow, target would be light green, and above target is dark green. This is all dark green, so this means that the overall performance here, the performance per domain, is above target for this particular candidate here. But there are other ways that PMI is showing this to you. This is an actual exam report that a student shared with me. Thank you very much. And this particular student here failed the exam. As you can see here, the overall score performance is fail. And then when you look down here, he or she, I don't remember, had needs improvement as an overall. So this particular student really had a bad day that day and really didn't do all that well on their PMP exam. So the red here is highlighted. Let me move one forward, show you one that has pass. So this is one where a student passed, and this person here is on target, right? So here the green is highlighted, and on the previous one, the red was highlighted. So in this way, you get a graphical view of how you did. But wait, there is more, because PMI gives you the same information also as a table. There you go. So everything that we've looked at so far here, this is also the table format. You have it in graphical format, you have it in textual format, and now you also have the table right here, above target, above target, above target. Okay, so what do these mean? Here we go. There are 4 performance ratings. Above target means you are exceeding the minimum requirements. Target means you're just meeting the minimum requirements. And by just meeting, this isn't bad. This is target. This is what you want to have, right? Anything above that, gravy. Anything below that, not good. You want to be on target. That's what you are aiming for. That's what you are shooting for the PMP exam. Below target means, yeah, you're just slightly below. You missed it just by a smidgen there. And needs improvement, yeah, that's far below target. And with these 4 categories, PMI aims to offer guidance and information and support for those who are taking the exam, particularly if you need to retake your exam, right? You can then look at these and you can go, well, I'm slightly below here, I'm far below there, so I really need to study more in the people domain because I was far below target. It says needs improvement right there. Right. And Tony also commented again here regarding the exam passing score. She says, Sierra, that's Sierra Hampton Simmons from PMI. She's in charge of all their exams. She's the top dog there. Does not comment on that. And she is in the know. Yes, nobody from PMI does comment about the exam passing score. Again, has been a policy for many years. So PMI does give you guidance here and how you can better focus your studies. They even give you a drill down. Now, fair warning, this particular screenshot here is from a previous exam sample that I had, where the previous PMI sample, where we had the old 5 domains. Okay, so log in at pmi.org, go to the exam results section, and here you can learn where you had most problems, and you can adjust your study plan for the next exam. And here it's quite visual, right? You can clearly see where this particular student had problems, where they were, below target, where they were on target. It's very visual. You can really see what this is about. And again, this is the person who failed here in their exam sample. In addition to this, PMI also tells you what to do next. Here we go. So they tell you that you have 2 retakes remaining right there, and you have 130 days remaining to retake the exam. So this is how this works. When PMI approves you to take the PMP exam or any of their exams, you have 1 year to do this. And during that year, you can retake the exam twice. So you take it the first time. You were unlucky, you failed. You retake it once, okay? You were unlucky again, you retake it a second time. Yay, you passed, okay? So you have 1 year eligibility, you have 2 retakes, and you have 3 attempts in total. And then on the screenshot there, you also see on the right-hand side, next steps for success. PMI gives you tips and information about how exactly you can move forward and what you can do in order to improve your score. More than that, because they also give you a drill down. Okay, so for each of the tasks that you are being tested on, PMI gives you a drill down. If you do not know what I'm talking about the tasks that you are being tested on the exam, watch my lesson on the PMP exam content outline, because the PMP exam content outline is the basis for the PMP exam, and it consists of domains, tasks, and enablers, and these tasks are what you are being tested on. So watch that lesson on the PMP ECO, okay? So here we see the drill down for the process domain, which has 17 tasks. And you can clearly see how this student did, right? We clearly note here task 5, 12, 14. Yeah, that's in the low. And these here are in the middle. And all of these here on the right, they are in the high, okay? And what you want to do is you want to look at the low scoring ones. Well, in particular, the 3 ones here on the left, 5, 12, and 14. That's where you scored the lowest. This is what you want to improve first. Okay, that's probably the low-hanging fruit. And then the ones in the middle, you want to push everything over to the right. Right? The more of these tasks you have on the right, the better. Okay, a big surprise. Remember, we had on the exam report, we had needs improvement, below target, target, and above target. So we have 4 scores, right? Here, however, we have low, medium, and high. I was asking myself, why is PMI doing this? Why are they giving you 3 here and 4 in the other one? Why not give me 4 as well so I can compare? And that's when it clicked, so that I can compare. If you can compare, you can calculate, right? So PMI gives you 3 here to make it harder for anybody to begin to calculate what the actual exam score is. They know what they're doing here, right? So think of people like Tony Johnson, a PMP exam trainer, myself. We have access to dozens of these reports that our students may share with us. So if we have a dozen, 20, 30 of these, we can probably assign numbers and we can start figuring out and calculating somehow in Excel what the exam passing score is, and PMI makes it much harder. You can probably still come up with an appropriation assumptions here and get close to it, but it's going to be much harder anyway. So that's just on a side note. That's why I think PMI has 3 here. So let's get back to those 3 tasks: 5, 12, and 14. We need to work on those, right? For your second exam, you want to go into those and you want to take a look at those. And here is what this is. So the numbers that you see on this screen here, so task 5, 12, 14, they correspond to the tasks in the exam content outline. I created a screenshot here with all of these together. Task 5 is plan and manage budget and resources. Task 12, you can see the one in the middle there, is manage project artifacts. And task 14, establish a project governance structure. So those were the 3 tasks where you really did not so well, or rather this sample person did not so well. Now you know what you need to study, what you need to learn. You can go back into your books. You can take another look at your exam prep training course. You can, even if that is something that your simulator allows, you can focus on this, right? And you can review all of this. You can restudy this. You can thereby improve your PMP exam score by doing that. Okay. And now that's it for our review of the exam score. What I want to do next is I want to talk about exam security and digital forensics that PMI does, because occasionally this, and I'll show you an email from somebody, or rather a social media post from somebody, this causes confusion, the way that this is done here, okay? So here's what PMI does. You get an exam report. If you take your exam in a testing center, when you leave the testing center, you will get a hard copy report. Tip: do not leave the testing center without that piece of paper in your hand, okay? That is your physical proof that you have taken the exam, all right? Then if you do it online, you will, within an hour usually, receive a email report. Again, that is proof that you have taken the exam, okay? Please note that I have said you have taken the exam, because even though the report that you receive may say, you passed, hooray, that result is not yet official. And here is what PMI writes about that. They say, any score provided at the conclusion of a candidate's testing session is considered preliminary until the candidate receives notice from PMI that the result is official. Okay, so PMI reserves the right to say, you know what? No, even though we told you yes, this is going to be a no for us. Okay, why and how? Here we go. That's where the exam and data forensics come into play. So they use third-party security vendors, psychometricians, statistics, and they conduct forensic analysis on test administration data. And these analyses are then designed to protect the validity of the exam by looking for evidence that suggests that, yeah, this candidate score doesn't look, that something's just not right with it, may not be a true measure of their ability, right? In other words, there are so many people taking the exam every single day. I believe I spoke to Sierra Hampton-Simmons in an interview once. She said, at that time at least, it was 3,000 people every single day take the PMP exam. They have mountains of data, and they know what a good and a correct exam looks like, right? So they're looking for outliers. They're looking for blips in the statistic, right? So that's what they're doing with these data forensics. And if they do find a blip, PMI reserves the right to halt, invalidate, or cancel any score identified as potentially invalid on the basis of these analyses alone. In other words, if they have an exam that goes blip, something's not right, just that blip, and it sounds like a little thing, right? But this is artificial intelligence. There are people doing this. This is not a machine going, oh, this is wrong. There are people behind this, right? Statisticians. They look at this data every single day. They know what they're looking for. So if they have an outlier, based on the fact that this is an outlier, just on that fact alone, they can say, you know what? No. This isn't right. This isn't right. We're not validating your exam. We are doing this right here. So this is what might happen, okay? So on the left, based on the statistical data alone, PMI could say, you're an outlier, something is not right, our statistics show that we're just not happy with this, right? We invalidate your exam. Your exam, even though you've taken it, even though we've told you preliminary, you passed, you haven't. You must take your exam again. And here, this is on us. You do not have to pay for it. So you get a free exam retake. But this is not everything PMI does. PMI doesn't stop there. When they suspect misconduct, right, they will look for it. They will look at the recording. They will look at everything that they had, all the data that is available to them. And if they find misconduct, if they find somebody who cheated, then they will invalidate the exam and say, your exam is not valid, and there will be disciplinary measures. From my experience, there's only one disciplinary measure that I've heard of so far. You are no longer a PMI member. You may never become a PMI member again. You may never take the PMP exam again. You are excluded from the club. Right? That is the only measure that I know of. Whoa. Okay. This is what might happen. Please read the top of the slide. This might happen. Here is what is actually going to happen to you in your case. Okay? This is what's going to happen to you. Nothing. You are going to take your exam. You're going to get your preliminary report that says, yay, you've passed. PMI will then validate your preliminary report. You will be certified. Congratulations. Welcome to the club. You are now a PMP. That's what's going to happen. Everything else before that, the chances are so small. Don't worry about it. But you need to know why PMI does this, right? They want to make sure that nobody's cheating and that everybody follows, good ethics as they are taking the exam. This keeps the high regard of the PMP exam up there at the top. Yes, here we go. I had a student fail the application audit. She was told she could never take a PMI exam again. PMI does that indeed, yes. If you fail the audit, so that's long before, right? If you submit your application and then you fail the audit, it is also possible that you may be excluded from PMI. If the audit failure is so severe that you lied, for example, on your application, then this could happen. I do not know the details behind the story of Tony's student here, but that is possible. From my experience, however, if you fail the audit, if, for whatever reason, most of my students who have contacted PMI, speak to somebody, reach out to them, talk to them on the phone, they will work with you and they will validate your audit, if at all possible. PMI isn't trying to get rid of you. PMI is trying to protect themselves and ensure that the high regard of the PMP is there, right? So that's why all of this is done. They're not. They want you to become a PMP. That's their goal. They don't not want you to become a PMP. All right, so this is it for our look at the PMP exam score and the report. Now let's jump into the FAQ. And please, if you do have any questions that I'm not answering here, please put them into the chat in Facebook or on YouTube, and we shall bring them up. All right, the first one. What is the PMP exam passing rate? The rate, not the score. Let me make it absolutely clear. We're talking about the rate here. So if 1,000 people take the PMP exam today, how many fail? How many pass out of those 1,000 people, right? That's the rate. Well, it truly depends on who you ask, okay? If you ask PMI will say no comment, just like with so many other things. PMI does not tell us what the exam pass rate is. If you ask the internet, you will get a random percentage. I mean, I've seen percentages from 76 to 96.4, if I remember that number correctly. So somebody said, yeah, 96.4 people passed the PMP exam. I don't know where these people get these numbers from. And if you ask my exam simulator, then it depends. It depends on how well you did in the simulator. We're going to take a look at that in just a moment, okay? But what I want to do is I want to move on to the next question before we quickly switch over to the exam simulator, because the next question is very similar, okay? Or it's the same place where I can show you the answer to this. So I'm scoring some percentage on my simulator. Am I ready? That's a question we get all the time. I'm scoring 54%. I'm scoring 83%. Am I ready to take the PMP exam? This is where you want to check the exam feedback in the exam simulator. So let me go into the exam simulator. So this is my Prepcast exam simulator right here, main page. And here I want to point out this link down here, statistics and more, right? All my statistics and exam quiz results. Okay, let's go into this. So this opens up a new tab, and here we have 5 tabs with various statistics that you can look at and determine where you're doing well and where you're not doing well, right? But the thing that where we really want to go is this page here, this tab here, exam feedback. Here's what happens. One more, this is what I want to do. 60 days after your subscription to my simulator expires, you'll get an email, fully automatic, that says, have you passed your exam? Please fill in our statistics, okay? And I think we sent 2 of those, right? And then you can say, I passed my first exam, and I didn't take the second or third, obviously, but you can also say, I failed my first, I failed my second, I passed my third, or whatever your situation is, right? So this is actual feedback that we're gathering from our students, completely anonymously. We're GDPR compliant here. And so this is what you get here. Let me make this a little bit bigger right there. All right, so what we see here is that if you, in our simulator, have 60 to 70% correct, 79% of these students said, I passed on my first try. 70 to 80% said, 78% said, I passed on my first attempt. And then for those who had 80 to 90% correct, they said 80% said, I passed it on my first attempt. To me, this one down here, I always ignore that because frankly, this is a tough one. There are very, very few people who get 90 to 100% correct in our simulator, right? And let's say there are 10 of those who are reporting back to us. If only one person happens to have a bad day and fail their exam, right? That's about 1 out of 10. Why not, right? That the numbers, they are really skewed, right? Because this here, the number of people who get 90 to 100% correct is so small, right? So this is what I'm saying, right? This is what I'm saying here when I'm talking about this. And I'm saying it depends in the Prepcast simulator, right? So my numbers are quite clear. If you get anywhere from 60 to 90% correct, your chance of passing the PMP exam on your first attempt is around 80%. And then, 15, 16% on the second attempt, and a few people have to retake it a third time, right? So these are our numbers. And this, by the way, is also where you can go, right? Here, I can see that my number is 17%. Okay, this is a demo user, right, that I'm using. So I'm below 50% correct. I have a 70% maximum chance of passing. So look at this number down here. Where are you? And how does your number go? Where, in which of these rows here does it go? If you are at 72%, you would be here. That means you have a 78% chance of passing your exam on the first attempt. My lawyer makes me say this. Your mileage may vary. This is statistics. Everybody is obviously different. All right. So these are the answers to those two questions in regards to what is the pass rate, and also, well, I have X%. Am I ready to go? The question next is, how do I increase my score? Well, you want to apply the plan, do, check, act to your simulator results. Again, this we do in the simulator itself. Let's go back to it. If we go into a previous quiz that I've taken here, I'm just going to open this up here. In the exam report, I can go to each question that I had wrong. Oh, I had all of them wrong. I just guessed randomly. You can go into question 1 and say, well, I was pretty sure that D was right. Why is A correct? Right? You can now open up this question. You can look at the explanation. You can look at the detailed explanation down here. You even have references right there. My recommendation is always the same. You plan, you have a good study plan, you study, you do, then you check, you take questions in the simulators, and then you act, right? Well, I wasn't doing so great in this question. I guess I better read up this information down here, okay? Right? So this is how you increase your score. Recommendation here is, if you've spent 1 hour in answering 30 questions, spend at least 1 hour in reviewing the report of those questions and look at every single question you had wrong, and you guessed a few, right? There were a few that you go, I'm just going to take B. Why did you get that one right? Okay. Make sure you look at that one as well. Okay. So yes, plan, do, check, act. Another question I get occasionally is, can you pass with below target? Right? Remember, we have above target, target, below target, and needs improvement. Right? The answer is yes, you can. You don't need to be target or above target in all of them. You can have others as well. Okay? All right. Tony also says, this is going back to this one here, the plan, do, check, act. This is a huge key. Why did you select this and not that? Always very important, right? Why did you choose A over B? Understand your reasoning, right? And if you had it correct, understand why it was correct. And if you had it wrong, understand why you had it wrong. Back to our thing here with the below target. Yes, you can pass with 1 below target, with 1 needs improvement. Here is a table that I have gathered over the past 7 days. These are actual results that people have reported in social media. And the one that everybody obviously is aiming for here is above target, right? If you have 3 above targets, above target in the people domain worth 42% on your exam, above target in the process domain worth 50%, and above target in the business environment domain worth 8%, you will obviously pass. Okay, this person here had a below target in the business environment domain, pass, because this is only 8%, right? So and especially with above targets here, below target, right? That works out well. Above target, below target, above target. Now this is a good one, right? A below target on half of your exam, yet did so well over here and did so well over there. This made it up. Okay, target, target, above target, obviously you'll pass. Target, target, target. Well, this is a pass. Yeah, this is exactly what you want. This here, the target, target, target. Then we have above target, needs improvement. Again, that's a pass, because needs improvement, again, only 8% here. And then a fail, target, needs improvement, needs improvement. Yeah, there's no way you can make up a needs improvement, two needs improvements here with an above target or a target here, right? So this is an actual table with actual results that we had right there. Okay. Now then, I said some people are surprised when they get their initial score, right? This is a PMP candidate who posted this on social media and said, I had below target in the business domain, but the report says pass. Now I am confused. In fact, this is the person here, second row, below target in the business environment domain, who passed, right? But got confused. Why? How can I have a below target and still pass? I don't get it. Okay. Well, I just received another email from Pearson VUE and see that overall I got above target. So yes, the person did indeed have, did indeed have this below target here in the business environment domain, but was so good over here in these two, still got an overall of above target. So yes, you can pass with below targets and needs improvements, but the other domains need to make up for it. I passed. Does my score matter? To tell you the truth, I passed my PMP exam in 2004, February. Nobody's ever asked me what my score was. It was actually quite low. I was feeling sick that day, sick to my stomach. I almost threw up during my exam. There's a story somewhere recorded where I tell the whole thing. Had some bad food for lunch, and I actually thought I had failed, right? So I made it by a smidgen. I passed. Did anybody ever ask me? No, they didn't. Okay, so your exam score matters so that you pass, but once you are a PMP and you keep your PMP exam current, nobody will probably ever ask you about what your score was starting about 2 weeks after. People may go, oh, how did you do? Did you get above target, below target? What did you have? You know, colleagues may ask you that, but once that is over, nobody will ever ask you again. So don't worry too much about your score. You're a PMP. Yay, that's what counts. Do harder questions on the exam give me more points? No. Each question is worth 1 point on the exam. If you remember from earlier on, 175 is the maximum you can get on the PMP exam. There are no 2-point or 3-point questions, but there are questions where you have to select 2 or select 3. So, well, what about these? If I have select 3 and I got 2 right and 1 of them wrong, do I get partial points? Do I get 2/3 of a point? No, you don't. A question is either answered correctly or incorrectly. You get 1 point or you get 0 points. There is nothing else. I specifically asked Sarah Hampton-Simmons from PMI about that, and she confirmed that no, there are no partial points on the PMP exam. Before we wrap this up, please don't forget, we offer a full PMP exam prep suite with the training course on the left. This lesson is part of it, and the exam simulator, of which I've shown you a few screenshots, statistics today here on the right. Please stop by at pmprepcast.com or at pmexamsimulator.com. And now let's wrap this up. I have some tips for you. Take action and takeaways. All right, let's start with the tips here. Well, this is, there we go. You've probably already seen it. There's 3 tips coming up, but what I wanted to say is this is easier said than done. Okay, these 3 tips. I mentioned this very early on. There is no silver bullet for the PMP exam. No tip that I can give you will make it that much easier, and we'll just, it's now so easy you can just pass the exam with flying colors. You don't have to worry about it anymore. That does not exist. Every tip that I have for the PMP exam takes dedication. It takes your mindset. You just have to apply yourself to the PMP exam, no matter how many tips that I can give you. All right, but the first tip is this: have a study plan. and apply yourself to your studies with focus and dedication. If you just do this sort of halfway, wishy-washy, whatever, I'll study a little bit here or there, I'll answer a few free PMP exam sample questions that I'm finding on the web, whatever, you will most likely not pass the exam. But if you apply yourself, if you study hard, if you have a plan, right, you will, in the end, pass your exam. But again, easier said than done. Tip number 2, understand and adopt the right mindset to spot the correct answer on the exam. We're talking about the mindset in separate lessons here, but this is really important. You have to understand how PMI thinks, right? If there is a question in front of you, you don't have to look at this from the perspective of, well, how would I answer this? You have to really change your perspective a little bit and go, how would PMI want me to answer this? Now, let's also be clear. PMI is doing everything to make this real life, to bring actual experience into this. So yes, there is a big portion of how does PMI want me to do this, but a lot of this is being able to apply actual real life experience onto the exam with a little bit of wearing the PMI hat of things, right? And moving on to the next, here we go. The third one, practice with an exam simulator and know how to pace yourself. A colleague of mine, let's see, Sarah Gallagher from the Persimmon Group, she said, people often forget the 11th knowledge area, which is fatigue management. The PMP exam is 230 minutes. It is long. If you haven't been to school for a while, right, at college or so, and you suddenly have to sit down 4 hours concentrating, it's really hard. So using an exam simulator, that is really the best thing you can do to yourself in order to prep and know where you stand. All right, these are my 3 tips. Have a study plan. Apply yourself to your studies with focus and dedication. Understand and adopt the right mindset to spot the correct answer on the exam. And use an exam simulator, right? With these 3, this is going to make your exam a lot easier to do. Take action. Before we go to the take action, I see here we have Latrina Odo who asks, I took the PM Prepcast a few years ago and passed the CAPM. Should I take it for the PMP exam? Latrina, it all depends on which version of my training course you used. When you say the PM Prepcast, I'm assuming you're meaning the PM Prepcast training course, not the PM Prepcast simulator. Okay. If you use the Prepcast simulator for the CAPM, yeah, you want the Prepcast simulator for the PMP. Right? If you used version 5 of the training course, you want the new one, version 7, right? Because it's actually, no. At the time of recording right now, the we're talking about PMP. You did the CAPM. Sorry, you're going for the PMP. Forget what I just said. So for the PMP, you want version 7 of the PMP, the PM Prepcast training course, and you want the most current version of the Prepcast exam simulator as well. So my recommendations here, create a study plan, right? That takes us right back to this tip, the first tip right here, have a study plan. Well, how do you do that? I have a study plan for you, pmprepcast.com/PMP study plan. Long article which will help you create your own study plan from scratch. And of course, use an exam simulator. Please do go to pmexamsimulator.com. And since Tony Johnson is here from Crosswind, I'm pretty sure Crosswind also offers an exam simulator. Do compare us and tell both Tony and me what you think, and tell us which one is better so that both of us can improve and create a better exam simulator. Tony Pono asks, when is the PMBOK Guide 6th out of the exam? Tony, that is a loaded question, but the best answer that I can give you is this. The PMBOK Guide 6th edition and all previous versions they focus on the process of project management, right? So they're process-oriented. How do you do project management? In what order do you apply budgets and just, the techniques, the methodologies of project management? PMBOK 6 is PMBOK 7, on the other hand, is principles-based. The what? What is good project management, right? What is good risk management? Not the how of it. Do you not need the how to manage your projects? Of course you do. You need to know how to actually manage a project. Just using principles is not going to help you, right? This is what good risk management looks like. This is what a good budget looks like. You still need to know how it's being done. So the process focus of PMBOK 6 will never go away. Right? You will always need to know, how do I initiate, plan, execute, monitor, and control, and close a project? How does plan, do, check, act work? You always need to know this. So PMBOK 6, the content, the know-how, the process focus will never go away. PMBOK 6 itself is just a book. So the content, the information may shift from PMBOK 6 to PMI's online repository called Standards Plus, right? Great idea to have everything online so that the process focus is there. So the content from PMBOK 6 will always be on the PMP exam, but it may not come from the PMBOK 6 anymore. The source where you understand it, where you get it, where you learn from it, where you get to understand how all of this is done, that may shift, all right? I hope that answers the question. Yes, and Tony Johnson confirms, yes, he does have a simulator. Indeed, Tony, give us the link, please, so that we can show folks the link to your simulator as well. Okay. There we go. Another question that we have. You have mentioned about psychometric. Will the difficulty of my questions be set based on the correct or wrong answers I choose? Does it happen dynamically? No, does not happen dynamically. My best understanding is that PMI has predefined a number of exams with questions. These exams are all fixed, and let's say there are 20 of those, and when you take the exam, you get one of these 20 exams. That is my best understanding. Is this correct? I do not know, because PMI doesn't say. It is quite possible that PMI does it differently, that they say, we have 5,000 questions in our bank, and every time when a student starts an exam, the questions are randomly selected from this, and a different exam is created for every single student, but the overall difficulty level is the same for everybody, right? So your exam does not suddenly adjust and say, oh, you answered this easy question wrong, so I'm going to give you a really hard question next. No, that is not how it works. The exam is determined at the start. So when you click start, your exam is fixed until you're done. How that how that happens, that creation of that fixed exam, that's a totally different story, right? My best guess, they have predetermined this, but it could very well be that they have an engine that creates that on the fly. Okay. Yes. Dana says, I didn't think the current exam includes anything from PMBOK 7. Please clarify. At this point, at the time of the recording, you are absolutely correct. We have not heard that PMBOK 7 questions have appeared on the PMP exam yet. I do recommend that you do study the PMBOK Guide 7th edition, because every day that passes, PMBOK 7 is more likely to appear on the PMP exam. Right. And that's it. Oh, here we go. Crosswind.com, PMP Exam Simulator App Premium. There we go. This is the link that Tony Johnson has provided. Please do consider Crosswind's PMP Exam Simulator, or of course mine at PM Exam examsimulator.com. Well, that's it for today. Here are my takeaways for you. The preliminary report that you get at the end of your exam is not final. Keep it until PMI confirms and that they tell you that, yes, you have passed your exam. There is no info about the required minimum passing score. Anybody who tells you need X number of questions correct on the exam, they don't know what they're talking about. And PMI will also not tell you what the actual exam score is. And then there are 4 performance rating categories instead of the actual exam score. It'll be needs improvement, below target, target, and above target. And if you're unlucky and you don't pass your exam on the first try, go to the CCRS and PMI will give you a drill down of details. One more question here. I'm testing next week. PMBOK 7 is not in my study guide. Do you think I need to make time for this? Yes, you do. At least read the principles. There are 12 principles in the PMBOK guide, 30 pages, a quick read in the PMBOK guide, 7th edition. At this point, at the time of recording, PMBOK 6 is sufficient, but I do recommend strongly, the more time that passes, PMBOK 7 has to be part of your study plan. Right. That's it for today. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time. Until next time. But before you go, please don't forget that this lesson is part of a series in which I help you to be better prepared for your PMP exam. Please do visit pmprepcast.com/more to watch all of them.